Calvin Watkins joins us now here on your home of the Cowboys. Good afternoon, sir. How the heck are you?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Are you you big college football guy? You enjoying these playoffs?
Yeah, I like watching football. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. I don't know all the players until the draft, but
yeah.
I like it. I mean, I was thrown off by the Texas game yesterday because I was out and about having a few cocktails and and a cigar, and I'm watching the Texas game, and then we had to do a conference call with Mike McCarthy. So I left the cigar lounge to go in my car to do the conference call.
Okay.
So the whole thing took about 15 minutes. And then when I got back into the lounge where I was at, I was in Fuego, in Frisco. When I got in there, I saw the game was tied. I was like, what in the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Right? So it was kind of, college football is so much fun to watch. It takes forever to play it. But it's fun to watch. So, yeah.
Speaking
of answered your question.
No, it did. I love that answer, man. And I love, mixing some sports journalism with an occasional cold beer or cocktail. I think you're doing it right. Now, speaking of the draft, though, and college football, this game kind of feels like going into Cowboys Commanders. It's must lose here to maintain that spot in the top half of the first round, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think the Cowboys are going to lose. They have a QB dilemma to settle, but I knew they were going to lose last week in Philly, which they did. I thought they'd be a little bit more competitive, but they weren't. And now I saw Micah Parsons on injury report with a wrist injury, so I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So, I think the Cowboys will be okay. I think they'll lose this game on Sunday, and the draft position will be just fine.
Now Jerry and Steven would never talk about like actively tanking, but do you think they're making some business decisions with that in mind here on these injured players?
Well, I think one of the business decisions they made was with DeMarcus Lawrence, and another one they made was with CeeDee Lamb. I think if they had been in the playoff hunt, CeeDee Lamb is definitely playing. And I think Lawrence would probably, because I remember talking to Lawrence about a month ago, and his objective was to return this season at some point. But now that, the season has been a wash for the last 3 weeks, what's the point, right? So, yeah, I think some business decisions have already been made.
And playing Trey Lance, I think, would be a big step in the direction of not winning, Do you think they're considering that in light of a bonus money and how it affects the cap or actual, real dollars? What all goes into that decision, Calvin?
Well, your boy Cooper Rush, he just needs about $250K, that's all that's left in that bonus, right? I would think in order for him to get that bonus, he would have to play at least 65 snaps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Cowboys are averaging about 68 snaps a game offensively. So that would mean you have to play the whole game, in essence, to kind of get that bonus. Do you want to upset Cooper Rush and his agent by not giving him a chance to get that bonus? And, we're only talking about $500,000. It's not like we're talking like $500 million, So I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue with the cap. And the answer is, yeah, why not? Let's play Trey Lance. Let's see what you got. Coop, you got $250 of the $500,000 already. We're sorry you can't get the rest of it, but we're running a football program here, not a cash app. So, play Trey Lance, play Will Grier, and keep it moving. As much as I like Cooper Rush, and I would like for him to get his money, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Were you surprised by the news of Ezekiel Elliott getting released?
Yeah, I was. I was very surprised, especially New Year's Eve, where I was about to go out and get a few drinks. So, yeah. So I was very,
We've
very
determined
surprised.
you like to drink, Calvin.
I mean,
I think that's what this interview's done for you so far.
Well, we like to drink with you, Calvin.
Sipping on something right now.
I haven't had a drink today. See, I think it's clear.
Well, what are you doing, man? Get on that.
Oh, well, no, I gotta work. I gotta write.
Well, just go in your car and drink and work on your phone. Jeez.
I was surprised that they cut Zeke. I thought they should have done it months ago. They weren't trying to play him. They should have had. I felt bad for Zeke because I'm sure he came in this situation thinking he was going to be the guy, right? And they held him out of they limited his reps in training camp practices. So Zeke had the thought that, oh, okay, I'm going to be the guy because they're limiting, how much work I'm going to get in camp. So then when the season starts, I'll be fresh. And he starts the Cleveland game, and one of the first snaps he gets, he faces Denzel Ward, he jumps over him. So everyone's happy, right? But then ever since then, they just said, no, we're going to go with Rico Dowdle. And when you talk to Rico Dowdle's people, they are not surprised by this. They figured that they were going to get more snaps than Zeke. So either the franchise, misled Zeke into thinking he was going to get more snaps, which I think is true and to a certain degree, or Zeke misread everything, which I also think is true. So they should have cut Zeke months ago. I thought before the Atlanta game, when he didn't show up to meetings, that I thought coming home from Atlanta, I said, there's no way he's on the roster.
Yeah.
There's no way. And he was on the roster. Why, I don't know. And don't give me he's a great leader and all this kind of stuff. Because he was a great leader, you don't suspend your great leaders for being late to team meetings. That's not what leaders are.
Hey, Calvin, while you were listening to Mike in your car, did you get a sense that maybe that McCarthy and this coaching staff really wasn't interested in playing Zeke, and the front office are the ones that were the ones behind him being here?
The indication I got was Mike wanted Zeke on this team. That was the indication that I received when all this first started back in the spring, right?
Okay.
Now, maybe during training camp in practices when they're seeing Zeke and in full pads and all that, maybe Mike said, oh, boy, I don't think he's got it.
Sure.
Right? And then maybe, and I have not talked to anybody about this, so this is just me speculating. I'm thinking that Mike might have saw that Zeke doesn't have it and said, I got to cut him. But the front office said, nah, we need to keep him.
Yeah.
So he had to just ride it out. So I think that might be part of it. Sometimes, head coach can't get everything he wants.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Theory I have. I think they're releasing him early because he was going to be inactive. And
that might be true.
And they didn't want to go through all that again of him. They didn't want his final game with the Cowboys being one where he was inactive. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, sure. I mean, let's be honest here, okay?
Yeah.
Can we be honest since you guys know I'm drinking all the time?
Let's be honest.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm pouring one right now, Calvin. Go ahead.
Pouring right now?
Yeah.
Hey, they're treating Ezekiel Elliott like he's Jason Witten.
True.
They're treating him like he's going to have a gold jacket. They're treating him like he's going to be a Ring of Honor recipient. Yeah. And Zeke was a fantastic player. He's not a Hall of Fame player. He's going to be short of 10,000 rushing yards. He's going to be short of passing or tying, turning into a set for the second most touchdowns in franchise history. Zeke was a good player. He had a 3 or 4 year good run. He got a great contract. He held out, got his money. I'm all good with that. But let's stop with the, oh my gosh, we got to be so sensitive about Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, what are we doing here? So.
Well, the front office is being sensitive. That's what I think is going on
right.
here.
I mean, if he's going to be inactive, check this out. DeMarcus Ware, who is a Hall of Fame player, he's in the Ring of Honor, one of the great guys in the sport. He's got a fantastic story. The Cowboys cut DeMarcus Ware because they didn't want to pay him anymore.
They want to pay him.
They cut him.
Yeah.
They want to pay him.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, you know what, you're an iconic player, we just need to ride this out with you, right? And they didn't do that to DeMarcus Ware. And he won a Super Bowl, obviously, when he went to Denver. But for whatever reason, these guys are treating Ezekiel Elliott like he's Jim Brown or something. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, am I missing something here with this?
I mean, I would say, Zeke's been misreading things since like 2019, maybe 2020 at the latest. Why do you think he ran out of gas so much faster than other like elite running backs?
He got put on a lot of tread on that tire early in his career, and he delivered. He delivered. Maybe there were times, when you look back on it, they should have said, hey, you know what? It's the fourth quarter. We're up 2 scores. Let someone else finish the job, right? Because we're going to need you for later in the season. Zeke is a thick, big, tough kid. He had a knee injury that messed him up, I think, for a year and a half that he had to fight through. So this is not about his toughness. I just think that he's a human being and your body wears out. And his body wore out. Can he help some team? I really don't know. I mean, when I saw him, I watched like the last 5 or 6 games of his in New England last year. And I saw some good things, but I didn't see a guy like runs like Rico Dowd does, right?
Yeah.
He's a good backup running back, but, you got to use him. And the Cowboys felt like he wasn't better than Rico. They felt like there were certain situations where it was 3rd and 1, and you go, hey, Zeke can get you 1 yard. He wasn't on the field. Man had 13 snaps. They talk about him, like I said, like he's Jim Brown or something.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Calvin, going into this finale with Washington, how much do you think the win or the loss impacts whether or not Mike McCarthy or anyone else on the staff is back for next year?
I'm not sure if Jerry's made his decision, but I don't think this game will impact it either way. This is a game they're expected to lose. If they win, that just is more of a confirmation that the team has not quit on Mike McCarthy. And I think that's about the culture that he has, brought to this franchise. When Jason Garrett was the coach, and I like Garrett, I never had the feeling that there was a culture around them. It was all about, well, Tom Landry used to do it, so we're going to do the blue-white scrimmage. Well, Tom, what do you do, Jason? You know what I'm saying? So Mike McCarthy brought some new things here, which I think is a good thing. Whether or not he comes back, I was talking to Todd Archer about this before I left the Star today, and I said, do you bring him back? And me and Todd were like, we don't know. I really don't know what you do with Mike McCarthy because I think he's a good coach. The problem is he has not elevated this franchise to the next level, and neither did Jason Garrett. And Jason Garrett got basically 9 years to do it. So maybe you give Mike McCarthy another 3 years. But one thing I will say from talking to people close to Mike McCarthy, if Jerry Jones says, hey, I'll give you 1 more year, I don't think Mike McCarthy's going to take that.
No.
I think Mike McCarthy's like, you got to give me a multi-year deal to stay.
Well, what about that? Calvin, I honestly believe he's worried about his staff. He might not be worried about himself, but is he? You think he's worried about his staff?
I think all coaches worry about their staffs to a certain degree. But as Brian Schottenheimer and John Fossil said, and they're coaches' sons, they said, we're big boys. We can handle it.
Yeah, okay.
All right. And that's what they said, right? And yes, McCarthy is worried about his staff, and I think that's why if he's presented with the,
I think he's worried about Scott Tolzien. I think he's worried about guys like Scott Tolzien and people like that. That's who I think he's worried about.
Hey, check this out. Scott Tolzien, if he knows what he's doing, he'll get a job.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Sure.
And I'm not. There's nothing against Scott Tolzien. Yeah. And I think Mike is concerned about his staff. That's why I was told that if Jerry says we'll give you another year, I think Mike would reject it because his staff needs more stability.
Right.
His staff needs to get the 2 or 3 years. Right. Like I found out today, the strength and conditioning staff. Yeah. Their contracts are up too.
Yeah.
Right. So you got a whole strength and conditioning staff that is like, we don't really know our next paychecks, right? So it's a mess. So I think that's why Jerry, whatever he decides to do, he's got to say to Mike McCarthy, I'm gonna give you 2 or 3 year extension.
Yeah.
And then Mike can look at the staff and say, hey guys, I'm here for 2 or 3 more years.
Yeah.
Let's run this back.
Calvin, like with a minute left, can I ask you your thought about Mike Zimmer coming back?
I don't think Mike wants to come back, not because he hates it here. I just think he's been through so much, losing his son 2 years ago. He admitted that he made some mistakes in implementing the defense. He's got racehorses. He's got grandkids. I think he's got money. He's good. So he came back as a favorite for Jerry. I think Mike is done. I'm not saying it in a derogatory way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think he's just retiring.
There you go.
Calvin, when you're tracking down these stories, whether it's the season or the offseason, how much of getting the goods on the team involves maybe cracking a couple coldies with Jerry?
Yeah, I'm sure me and Jerry will have a few, maybe hopefully at the Combine in Indianapolis. Jerry is one of the best sports personalities, businessmen, owners, executives in the history of sports. and to have a beer with him or a cocktail or just shooting the bull with him is pretty cool.
Right on, man. Well, pretty cool to have a chat with you about this team. Thanks for all your insights and takes on where we go from here, and we look forward to catching up with you soon.
Hey, you guys have a great day. Happy New Year.